Do you know that there are still a lot of unclear plane crashes now? Or disgusting plane crashes? Such incidents shook the world. The technological advancement in flying notwithstanding, the world is still shocked profoundly each time that ventures on the flight. These plane crashes that included mechanical failures and human errors were not only fatal, they altered perceptions to flying. I want to know how these tragedies happened. What were those that were learned from the ruins of these calamitous incidences? Let's get seated, fasten your seatbelts while we are going to uncover the most astonishing, shocking plane crashes you never knew. Plane crash. In northern Canada, in January 2024, a terrible plane crash happened in northern Canada near Fort Smith, Northwest Territories. The plane is a small British aerospace jetstream owned by Northwestern Air Lease that crashed shortly after taking off with passengers on board for the Diavik diamond mine. Its location could be described as having been on the border between the Northwest Territories and Alberta. The local community being that the existing one in the region, due to the geographical location of the area, was so keenly touched by the incident in question. This flight was to transport the workers to the diamond mine. The accident caused the death of many people on the plane, and the precise number of victims was not immediately reported by authorities. Other search and rescue units involved were paratroopers and Canadian Rangers. A RCEAF C-130 Hercules aircraft was involved in the recovery process. The normal working climate of the Northwest Territories is severely harsh during winters, especially in the months when this rescue and recovery operation was conducted. Police officers, immediately joined by members of the Transportation Safety Board of Canada, moved to start investigating the circumstances that led to the crash. People started guessing that maybe weather might have contributed a great deal, because whiteout is actually a normal feature during wintertime within this region, and those are known to cause real problems for pilots, as they really affect visibility. The crash sent shockwaves through the region, as the loss of life affected friends, colleagues, and families. The small, closely knit communities of Fort Smith and surrounding areas mourned the deaths, and grief counseling services were made available to help residents cope with the tragedy. Local officials and the coroner confirmed fatalities and expressed condolences to the families affected. This crash is a stark reminder of the challenges faced by pilots and passengers in remote, harsh environments like the Canadian North, where extreme weather and vast distances can make air travel dangerous. The investigation by the Transportation Safety Board aimed to uncover the precise cause of the crash and provide recommendations to prevent future tragedies. Challenger 604 crash on February 9, 2024. A Bombardier Challenger 604 business jet crashed on Interstate 75, Florida, while trying to land at Naples Airport. The aircraft was, in total, crewed with 6 people, 4 passengers, and 2 crew members. During the approach toward the airport, it faced problems with proper orientation in front of the runway, and that caused the failure of the landing operation. Eyewitnesses said that the aircraft seemed to be floundering in the sky before it plummeted onto the populous highway. The force pulled debris on the interstate, and the road became impassable, leading to traffic jams. The police arrived promptly, but regrettably, all 6 passengers on board perished. What followed was a massive response from law enforcement from the area and fire department, who deal with the wreckage and control of the scene. The narrations given were quite explicit, detailing of an explosion, together with a fireball, to show how serious the accident was. After the accident, new investigation by National Transportation Safety Board, NTSB, was carried out to determine the causes of the disaster. Initial observations indicated navigational problems, perhaps connected with the aircraft's approach path, or mechanical glitches may have occurred. Police bridged efforts to scrutinize on the flight data recorders and maintenance log on the aircraft, with intention of establishing whether the plane had any hidden vices that culminated to the incidents. This story brings sorrow to the history of aviation and reminds people about the constant dangers of flights, including private ones. Naples and the aviation sector condemn the deaths of the people and call for extra precautions and ordinances to prevent similar occurrences in the future. VUPAS Flight 2283 Crash. VUPAS flight that occurred on the 15th of August 2024, also witnessed the deadly crash of the plane in Brazil and led to the suffocation of all the passengers and the crews that were on board the plane, with a total number of 62. This became the most fatal air accident in the history of Brazil since the tragic Gol Airlines crash of 2007, and produced profound grief across the country, in addition to raising important concerns about avionics security in the region. The Saab 340B airliner was flying from Sao Paulo to a smaller airport when it struck turbulence soon after it had departed. Initial inquiries showed that the plane lost lift on one wing, which caused a failure and contributed to the plane entering a flat spin. Witnesses said the plane was coming down from the sky and crashing into the thick wooded area. Thus, the rescue was more difficult because of the many trees. The first heads up was that the emergency responders had been major challenges when gaining access to the crash site. It took several hours to get there because the site is in a remote area of the country, and several agencies, including the Brazilian Air Force, were involved in search and rescue operations. Upon arrival, the authorities stated that there were no living passengers. Moreover, wreckage was spread over a large piece of land, which created some difficulties for the search and rescue missions. Following the crash in Brazil, the authorities conducted a rather extensive probe in a bid to identify factors which may have led to the crash, including, but not limited to, the aircraft's maintenance records and the training of the pilots, the climatic conditions at the time of the crash. The National Civil Aviation Agency of Brazil, ANAC, coordinated by specialists from other countries, studied black boxes retrieved from the crash site. These black boxes, which embed the flight data as well as the conversed voices in cockpit, are essential for highlighting the chronology of events to the crash. The tragedy sparked widespread media coverage, bringing attention to the safety protocols and regulatory measures in place for regional airlines in Brazil. Many families of the victims expressed their grief and called for accountability and reforms in aviation safety standards. In response, the Brazilian government promised to review existing regulations and enhance oversight to prevent such disasters in the future. As investigations continued, the aviation community and the public alike awaited answers about the causes of the crash and the safety of air travel in Brazil. The incident served as a stark reminder of the inherent risks associated with aviation and underscored the need for rigorous safety practices and advancements in technology to safeguard passengers. This tragic event resonated deeply in Brazil, highlighting not only the loss of lives, but also the impact on families, friends, and communities mourning the individuals who perished in the crash. The Vopass Flight 2283 incident remains under investigation, with hopes that it will lead to improvements in safety protocols that protect future travelers. If you enjoy this video, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and comment on the same video.